All right, guys, second episode in the business vlog series, and I've got something really exciting to share. Last week, I had my first sale. So basically, I just want to take this video to just kind of walk you through what I did last week. I changed my strategy up a little bit. I still wasn't really expecting to get a sale as fast as I did, and it wasn't some crazy amount of money that I got a sale for. But, it still was the first one, and I was really excited about that, because especially since I talked about last week that my main goal is just to get the business out there, get the name out there, try to build up some type of, following on social media, just have people just know of the name Shieldworks Cybersecurity. But luckily, along the way of trying to do that journey, I was able to get my first sale. So here I've got the actual Facebook page that I'm doing. If you haven't seen it before, highly recommend if you're on Facebook, go over there, like it, follow it, like my posts, interact with them. That'd really be a huge help to me if you wouldn't mind doing that. But basically, I wanted to specifically advertise a service and not just doing it in the sense that, hey, I'm Shieldworks Cybersecurity and I offer this specific service. And I was trying to think because I have been getting a lot of different engagement from individuals, not as many business owners though. And so I was thinking, well, I do have a service that I offer to individuals that isn't just specifically to businesses, and that's social media reviews. And I wanted to kind of explain what people get from a social media review, what I'm looking for, and basically what you can do with specific information. So I started off, and basically what I did is I launched a campaign that I was giving a discount, a $5 discount on the social media review that I initially offer, which is just $20 for a social media review. And people can pay me $20 and I'll go and look at one of their social media profiles and see if they are, revealing any information that they don't want to reveal. And basically, what I have them do is I give a sheet if I feel that it's necessary, depending on how large their social media profile is. Otherwise, I can just talk to them and see what they want. But basically, give them a sheet that I'll put up on the screen right now that basically goes over all the different things that you may want to share or you may not want to share. And basically, you give that back to me and say, hey, I don't want to share this information. I don't mind if this information is shared. And then I'll go on your social media profile and basically find out whether or not you're inadvertently sharing that information. And so, what I have here is a picture from a few years ago, a house that I lived in. And this is a photo of my son when he was probably about 1.5 years old. And it was a major snowstorm, and we took a photo outside with him and was just showing how much snow we had compared to his height at the time, and that, it's still coming down. So we're getting even more. And it's a cute photo and it accomplished that main goal. But what it also did is right up near the top, we have our street number of 219. And basically, at the time, I also had, hey, uh, we've got our location was set to Morrison, Illinois, which is where I lived, and also which happened to be a very small town. And basically, I was just explaining how, with this photo alone and the information that was publicly available to the whole world, because I had a public Facebook profile, you could go and figure out that, hey, I am, living in Morrison, Illinois. My street number is 219. If you went on Google Maps and just hovered over Morrison, and then typed 219, there's only two 219s in the entire town. And then all you have to do is just go on Google Street View and find out which 219 matched the front of this house. And basically, once you did that, you got my address. And it wasn't very difficult to figure out. And so I was sharing that. Another thing that I did the next day was I shared another photo from the past where I basically was just sharing a map that had all the Chick-fil-A's that were in my city at the time, which was when I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and just showed like, hey, I've got all these Chick-fil-A's. And really, this was before I moved to Illinois, and I was moving to an area where there weren't very many Chick-fil-A's. And back then, I was really into Chick-fil-A. We ate it a lot. But I was just showing how, look, I shared this map of all the different Chick-fil-A's, but I share the location of my work, which is very obvious that I've got a little job thing there, and I also share the location of my home. And so this isn't necessarily as egregious as my photo with my son, because you can pinpoint it a lot easier with the public information that was out there at the time. But this just gives you a really good indicator of basically where I'm at on the map. And, through other posts and things like that, you may have been able to narrow it down a little bit easier doing some reverse image searching, or maybe just kind of getting some geography of the local area, going through with Street View, figuring stuff out like that. But basically, just inadvertently, I'm sharing my map, but I've also got my home location on my map. And so I'm telling people, hey, be careful about sharing screenshots of your map. A lot of times people are sharing stuff like map my run, map my ride, and basically like, look, I rode 20 miles on a bike, but your starting point and your ending point was at your house, and you're sharing that on the map so that anybody can see where you started and where you finished. So I'm just explaining these things because I feel like people hear like, oh, social media reviews, what are you talking about? And it's basically like a lot of people think about, oh, I'm just, sharing too much information. Maybe I'm like posting a picture of my kid, but you don't think I should post a picture of my kid as like a security professional. And, I just showed you guys a picture of my kid. Some people get really upset and worried and concerned about whether or not you're sharing a photo of your kid. Some people are more private about that. Some people aren't. Personally, I don't necessarily think that cybersecurity and privacy are the exact same thing. I think that they have a lot to do with one another. And I think that if you want privacy, then you can refuse to share any photo of your kid and stuff like that. But what I wanted to explain to people is that, look, you're sharing a photo of your kid, you're also inadvertently revealing your home address. You probably don't want to do that. And so I'm using mistakes from my past, places that I haven't lived at for years, to be able to show, hey, this is a mistake that I made in the past, and you can figure out from there how it works. And then the last day of the 72-hour thing, I shared a photo of my wife and I from a vacation that we took to Myrtle Beach, and was basically just explaining the concept of metadata. Not really something that applies to social media reviews, but it was basically just expanding the scope a little bit, explaining another thing of how, through file transfers or things like that, you're transferring the whole file, you're potentially revealing information about where you've been, where you're at, and just kind of explaining the concept of metadata. So through these 3 posts, I did generate a lot of traction. I think this one specifically, the first one on my son, I think that really surprised people. I got 8 shares on that one, so I was pretty happy. You don't really get a ton of engagement from that, on my actual page, because a lot of times I'm sharing it and then it's my friends and family on my personal Facebook page, which is private and very locked down now. But so the page itself doesn't get a lot of traction. But I am kind of thinking about just maybe not sharing the stuff as much on my own personal one and just letting the page itself generate the traction rather than me getting all the likes on my personal page. I'd rather it be on here. But anyways, so I've got a lot of people that are following on here, and basically for the last day, the last 72 hours, got somebody to reach out, shoot me an email at info@shieldworkscyber.com, and got the first sale. So I tried something a little different. I did more of a targeted approach and just kind of seeing what could happen, and it worked out. And I was very excited about that. I didn't really think I'd make anything. I'm far from profitable at this point, but the nice thing is too, I don't really have many monthly expenses that I'm concerned about. I paid a lot of stuff up front to basically give myself an extended period of time to just build up the business slowly and give it time to mature to growth, so that I don't really have to rush anything or really forcefully just throw anything out there. So I was very excited about this. Um, yeah, so that's my plan. So next week, I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'll do like a targeted sale again of anything specifically. I think more, I'm just going to try to share some more helpful security tips. I've already got a post scheduled on Facebook for tomorrow. Basically just explaining to people about the posts where it's like, hey, what's your mother's maiden name? Or what's your high school that you went to? What's the name of the street that you grew up on? Things like that, that are actually just kind of fishing for security questions and explaining how, security questions themselves might not be that good of an idea. But I'm just kind of sharing these things and just sharing along the journey with you, showing you what I'm doing and how I did it and how it worked, and celebrating I got my first sale. So I'm really excited about that. I hope that it's the first of many to come. And I hope that I'm able to do a lot of different successful things with this business. But I hope that was helpful. If you didn't know, don't share photos outside of your house that include your street number, and check your photos to see if you got a street number. And if you want somebody to check for you, shoot me an email at info@shieldworkscyber.com, and I will do that for you for any account that you are requesting. So thank you guys so much for following along with this journey. I hope that I can give some good insights to you and help you out, and just, give you some advice and tips of what has worked for me and what might work for you down the line if you want to start a business, or even just you can look at the different failures that I'm inevitably going to make in the weeks in the future, and you can look at those failures and try not to make them yourself. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week with the next video.